Hello, Commanders. How are we doing today? Hopefully you're all doing well in this little break we're taking between arcs. I wanted to do a quick video today for you all. This is something that I had, I guess, first known about, but to be honest, I've gotten lazy. Just trying to use the same crews, and that's not the most efficient, but it is what it is. But I've run a couple of tests, and I want to share with you my results. But this comes from a comment from Damon D, one of my recent videos, talking about Borg solos. Appreciate your comment and reminding me about the Borg solos because it really can impact your results. So what I wanted to show you were my crews, and basically, in a nutshell, I'll give you the answer up front and you can decide what you will with it. Hope you continue to watch the whole video so you can see kind of the results, and I can post these results as well in Discord for you to have access to see those. But essentially what happens is that the Borg solos tend to have very high mitigation. So using piercing officers, like using 6 of 11, for example, may not be the most advantageous for most players. In my crew setup, which I've been using Dax, which has some pretty good piercing stats, as well as 6 of 11 on another ship. So let me show you the crews and we'll jump into it. But just a quick reminder, if you're new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, doesn't cost you a penny, but it really does help grow the channel and helps us grow. So if you haven't done that, really appreciate if you could do that. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up and leave a comment before you go. It does help with the YouTube algorithm, as they say. So here's the crews. I've got a Corvus, a Vorcha, and the Tally or Talios. Okay, so I didn't change the below deck crews, but I will show those to you. So what I did was I started with Dax, Cisco, and Miles. And so we've got the Captain's Maneuver with Dax, which increases shield piercing by a significant percentage. And then we've got the critical I have a max Cisco. And then Dax at her level increases weapon damage by 450% of officer health. And we have Miles just to get the chance to increase the chances for more shots against the Armada target. And then my below deck, just put some officers on here. So we've got Belana Taurus to apply hull breach. We've got Harry Kim. Now I think my Kim is a pretty low chance. 15% chance to apply morale. I have that because of the artifacts. So when I'm doing have morale triggered, then it can cause some extra damage, I believe. So, and then for what you call it, for mitigation. So many words. Talking is hard sometimes. So just wanted to have some more mitigation with Paris below decks. Okay, second ship and cruise, we have got Chakotay. His Visionary increases the number of shots. Then he's got critical hit chance increase. So if you can see a theme here, wants to have criticals and hull breach are essential in Armada setups typically. Increasing critical hit damage by 100% based upon the tier of my 711 or yours. And then Janeway for the cascade, the isolated cascade damage. Below deck, just put Boimler down there for some mitigation. And then we've got Tendi and Mariner, so increasing damage. And also for stats, for who I have below deck, for increased damage with Mariner and whole health for Tendi. Last one, we've got 5, 6, and Khan, a popular choice. Let's see here. So 511 as captain has the mitigation. So another important thing to have in your armadas that you're hitting. 6 of 11 increasing shield, or sorry, I shouldn't say shield. I just saw the word there. So increasing your piercing stats by 40% of the attack of the officers. Increased, rewards with the you will be assimilated ability from 5 of 11. and then con for the critical hit chances. And then below decks, I had stacked as much basically attack as I could. I probably could have swapped out Charvenek for a little bit more attack. But my officers, compared to some people's, may be significant. I don't know. I do have some primes. So my attack I was able to stack is 300,000. And that doesn't impact my piercing stats, but we will look at some battle logs in a minute to kind of look at that. Okay, so that was the first test. And what I did was I took two tests, one with piercing officers. So we've got Dax, and then we've got 6 of 11 on different ships, the Corvus and the Tally. And what I did was I swapped it out because I kind of knew that they had high mitigation. So I wanted to go for officers that would increase damage. So I put Julian Bashir in here, seemed like a good fit. Increasing critical hit damage by 50% against solo armadas, and then he's also increasing the critical hit chance. So if we take an assumption that they have high mitigation, well, maybe we can't overcome the mitigation, but we use skills that either increase the damage we do or reduce the armada's abilities in some way. So what we did, or what I did, was I swapped out 6 of 11 for Borg Queen, which increasing critical hit chance by 3%, because I'm also going to swap out Con. So it would be great because my Con has 5% cumulative and hers is 3. So it'd be greater if she was higher tiered, but I wanted to also add the synergy to 5 of 11 to increase that ability. And then Gaza, which would be great if mine was tiered or max. So I say tiered higher or max, but at the start of each round reduces the critical damage by 5% for 1 round. So that's what I ran with for my 2 different crew tests. Now let me pull up the results real quick. So this first one is the Borg test with piercing crews. That's the first cruise that I showed you. Couple things that I will point out. So here are the crews. Rounds alive, 4 rounds. It only shows 3 on these other 2, but they definitely survived. So I'm not sure why it shows that there. So those are the crews right there. Damage done. I think I'm gonna kind of focus on here. So it's talking about my ships. I guess you have the Borg sphere as well. But if we look specifically at the mitigated percentage, so for the damage that my ships were doing, we had anywhere from 65% down to 55% was mitigated. So if we remind ourselves where we had the greatest percentage that was mitigated of our damage, that was from the Vorcha. So there wasn't any piercing officers on there, but I did have Dax on the Corvus. So if we look at the Corvus, 55%, she, as we saw her officer ability, had a significantly higher amount of piercing. Now we still had decent piercing, or better piercing. See, it's not that much different from the Vorcha, which had no piercing officers. So 6 of 11 from this crew test, even with a 300,000 attack that I stacked, didn't really have that much more that was able to pierce the Borg Armada's defenses. So what else did we want to look at here? I want to kind of calculate, while we're on here, the hull damage. I was interested to see how much hull did my ships take, which is going to be, if the battle lasts longer and we're not mitigating as much ourselves, looks like we had good mitigation from 5 of 11, almost max right there. Not anywhere near a good amount of mitigation with those 2 ships, and so they were taking some good damage as far as how much they were able to mitigate, right? But hull damage, let's calculate that. So we've got 22, 420. Better move that up. 591 plus the 10 million. 10 million 463 126. Okay, that looks right. Plus the 5 million. And I'm just trying to see overall how much hull damage did we take. Okay, so we're at 38, 39 million-ish. Okay, so that's great. That's how much damage we took there. Let's hop over to this one here, Borg test, no piercing crews. So here's my officers. We've got Bashir as captain. We've got Chakotay, this crew didn't change. And then we've got 511 with Borg, Queen, and Gasa. Okay. So there's the damage done. Mitigation percentage of our damage done was right around 65%. So we didn't have piercing officers. And remember, even with the piercing officers, we hop back over to there. The only Dax was better by what, between 10 and 6 and 10% ish. So not significantly more that was mitigated. Okay. The interesting thing here, and let's see, it should show it here. It shows it correctly here. The battle did go 3 rounds. Okay, so we had less damage we're taking potentially because the rounds were less. Okay, and then the total damage we took, let's just kind of, we'll add this up just so we can see. So we had 38.874, right? That is compared to 8630291. And yes, I'm doing it with a mouse just so you can see me clicking, and I guess you can see me typing as the numbers pop up, but we'll just keep going with the method, right? That's how crazy we are here. 887099 plus 2423660. 21 million damage compared to 38. So we took, what, 17 million less damage? That is significant. So those are the results. I'll post these for those interested in Discord. Once again, I didn't mention that earlier, but feel free to join Discord so you can kind of have these kind of discussions and we kind of have them a little bit better. But honestly, what this tells me is that it's really hard to overcome that mitigation, and that's something you should take to your gameplay. And you may have different officers at different levels, different tiers, so the percentages are gonna vary. You may have better piercing officers, you know, or Dax. Your Dax may be max for all I know, and maybe you can do more damage, and that is going to impact your game too, because you could knock out the hostile even faster than I did by doing more damage. But I would say bottom line, the strategy behind doing the Borg solo armadas is this. It's not so much about the piercing that you're going to want to focus on. You're going to want to focus on high damage with officers that can do better crits, and more critical damage. And you're going to want to focus on officers that can give you mitigation. So if you have like Paris, he's definitely a good officer to have below deck. But anyway, you can increase your own mitigation stats is going to be helpful in attacking that target. So when the Borg event comes around, you may want to, after you've gotten things like Locutus unlocked, and maybe if you've got 511 max, I think Goss is going to be a fantastic officer to focus on. If you have the option to run more of the expansion cubes, I know those are a pain in the butt, but if you have the chance to run more of those, that is a sourcing for the Borg Queen that can give you more criticals to increase your critical damage there. So that's something to consider. But bottom line, kind of focus your crews on doing more damage and having more mitigation of your own, because it doesn't seem like the piercing officers are going to have that significant of an impact against the Borg solos. So a little bit different than crewing for the Dominion. The Borg solos have proven to have high mitigation stats that are pretty hard to overcome. So anyways, leave your comments below if you have any questions. Feel free to join the Discord for our monthly giveaways. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. I am reminded oftentimes of things that I miss, but you know, we're truly helping each other to get better at this game and to be more efficient and get more from each of the runs that we do. So hopefully this is helpful, and we'll see you next time.